Mao Mao is back. Yes, after 2 very long weeks, Apothecary Diaries is back for episode 13. Really a setup episode, I feel like. We get some nice fun moments in there of Mao Mao just being Mao Mao, but honestly it felt like this entire episode is just really to kind of set up this other court area that Mao Mao is now actually having to be a part of. Now, it's sort of, again, slight spoilers for the preview for the next episode. It does seem like Mao Mao is still going to be involved with the Rear Palace, but yes, like Goshun kind of puts in this episode, you were technically fired from there, so you're not going to go back there. But we all know it's more the fact that Jinshi wants Mao Mao right next to her. Just stay right here. But no, it seems like Jinshi's whole plan was not to bring her in as a courtesan, like I was kind of supposing the possibility of previously, and not technically as a servant, but in this case being a court lady. And now I'm assuming that we might get a little more into the court ladies. They kind of emphasize them as sort of being assistants for all the different offices back there, but already kind of laying out a bunch of possibilities for future arcs. There's a lot of emphasis on the military itself. There's a lot of emphasis on these other court ladies. And there's a whole passing comment that she makes about what her father said, which they don't want to get into right now. But anyways, yes, let's jump into the episode proper. Opening it up with, yes, explain that Mao Mao is going to be brought into work for Jinshi. All the girls seem to be really excited for her, which is great because obviously they want her to bring more rich people back to her. But no, it was, like I said before, Mao Mao going back to her father. Apparently her father was okay with it, says, you know, do what you want to do. But then again, she kind of emphasizes that he said something, but she doesn't know what he meant by it, which again, like I said, really kind of bugs me that they didn't want to get into it with this episode. But I did really like the little brief moments we had with her and her father. Again, this idea that, okay, things are different this time. I can actually come home. I do have a family here I can return to. It's not that I'm missing this time. So at least it kind of establishes that she's not locked there anymore. She's no longer, again, sold into servitude. She's actually able to kind of go back and forth, and she has a home to return to. She has her sisters, she has this naggy grandma, and she has her father. So really good little moment there. Really love the kind of little brief moment where she's kind of laying next to him, and he's kind of giving her little head pats and everything. It was super sweet. I did forget to mention, but yes, we had this little brief moment with Jinshi and the Emperor, which again heightens the expectation that he's something important even more. Even Mao Mao later on in his office going, man, this is a lot of really high class stuff here. So, but yeah, this little brief moment between the two of them and sort of emphasizing a lot into Jinshi's mindset, which I thought was really great. There's an emphasis here that he's always been struggling with the fact that no matter how hard he tries, intelligence and, martial arts, he's always just above an average person. But he was bestowed beauty. And I like the fact that we're kind of getting into his mind the idea that, yes, he used to be bugged by this, bugged by the fact that he couldn't be something special in all this stuff, but he was blessed with beauty. And even though he was dissatisfied before, he's come to accept it, and now he uses it to his advantage. This is something that he's nothing new to him, basically. He's always dealt with this, and now he's going to use it to his advantage. Interesting that they kind of point out that, yes, he's going to use this to his advantage, and he knows full well that he's dancing in the palm of the Emperor's hand, pointing out the fact that this guy's very clever, that he has something that he wants to put into effect, and that Jinshi's going to enact on it. But he also says that he's going to use this to his advantage in order to choose his own path. Now, this is where it kind of gets in that little area of, like, where are we going right now? My assumption is that there's a possibility that the Emperor is going to be doing something going forward that is going to be obviously something that's going to be difficult to handle, that Jinshi is going to be a part of that whole plan. Based on the preview of the next episode, I'm kind of wondering if it has something to do with this next person that's coming into the picture. But either way, it's kind of insinuating something going forward. But there's also a part of me that's almost wondering, is Jinshi emphasizing here that there's a possibility of something that he's going to be doing that might work against the Emperor? But yeah, we cut to Mao Mao being picked up by Jinshi. They got her all dolled up. He's obviously thrown off. I love the fact that as they're going there, like, everybody outside is going, who's this pretty woman? Like, when did they have this person at this house? And then they're traveling all the way to the palace itself, and all the guards are freaking out, like, holy crap. And Jinshi's getting jealous. I like at some point he's like, when you're here, put the freckles on. She's like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. Like, she doesn't even get what he's talking about. But yeah, it's your fault that I'm getting all this attention. No, it's you, Mao Mao. It's your fault. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I got a kick out of that fact. It's just everybody's rumors about the fact that he's bringing in a courtesan. She's super beautiful, and everybody's trying to figure out who she is. And it's the same Mao Mao that everybody's probably seen a lot of times, but nobody's recognized her because she's all, again, dolled up without the freckles. They've got to get into that factor later on with the other court ladies and how they're kind of jealous of Mao Mao, and she points out that they're possibly jealous. They slap her, and then she just turns into this whole thing of like, well, it's not like Jinshi, the person that you praise so much, would ever be interested in somebody like me. I'm ugly. Well, why'd you get picked? Oh, well, my arm. He pitied me. They're all disgusted by it and leave. The other lady in waitings, they were all like, sad about it. Like, oh, poor you. But no, these ladies are like, no, this is disgusting. We're getting out of here. Of course, I don't think the other lady in waiting's ever seen what is actually under the bandage. They just assume that she's injured in some way. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. But yeah, over time, we end up finding out that the whole reason that Mao Mao's there is, yes, to serve Jinshi, or at least to be next to Jinshi, obviously. But it seems like his plan is to make her a court lady. But she has to go through this exam first. It was kind of interesting to see sort of a difference between the court ladies and the similar aspects of those within the actual Rear Palace, and the idea that, yes, it seems like they're more educated and everything. Their whole purpose is to be sort of assistants to all the different offices, and so it's going to require a little bit of thought here. I do like the fact they sort of did a little foreshadowing of Mao Mao, and the idea that when Goshun's showing her around this area, he's like, here's this, and she's like, man, there's like way too many buildings here. They all these different offices, but I'm not going to remember them all because if something doesn't interest me, I have a hard time remembering them, or at least. So it's like, yes, technically that does imply that when it comes to the exam, something that she's not interested in, she's not going to do a good job of actually remembering anything. So she's going to fail the exam. So she ends up being a servant anyways to Jinshi, I guess, in order to keep her there. But yeah, it was kind of interesting that initially when she came in there, she assumed that she was going to be a servant. It even has the moments where she does play the role as a servant because she's walking around noticing like things are dirty. None of the court ladies are going to handle it, so she'll handle it. But additionally, that the fact that technically Jinshi's particular office / residence, they only have one person serving there. And I didn't quite get this, but they kind of implied the idea that they've had people come in there before. But this lady, she's the only one that has ever technically worked on the resident area and his food. Sort of implying this idea that, again, emphasizing the idea that Jinshi is something special, that yes, technically they can't have anybody else serving him food or making food for him because it has the same issue that, again, the Emperor would have. You have to have special people in order to do this because somebody might poison him. Now, granted, Mao Mao, because she's not us seeing a lot of the bigger picture, she just assumes, okay, well, maybe it's because they're afraid of somebody slipping an aphrodisiac in there. No, it's like, no, poison. They don't want Jinshi to get poisoned. He is somebody special to, again, to the kingdom itself, but also to the Emperor and knowing his true identity, probably. I'm kind of curious what they were talking about with her plans for her room, because yes, when she first gets her room, she's like, oh, this is a really nice place for a servant. And then she goes in there and he's like, well, do you want a different room? I can get you something else. And she's like, well, I guess if he's asking, Goshin's over there like, no, don't ask for anything else. Don't ask for anything else. Probably because he has to do the paperwork to kind of okay it. But yeah, she says, okay, well, I want a well and a stable. Very weird that Jinshi's like, no, not a stable. Stable's not allowed. I guess that's because it's within the palace itself. They don't want to create a stable within there because then they would have like different animals in there and they don't want that to disturb the rest of the palace. But it seemed kind of odd that was like specifically a stable. Why she would want a stable, I guess, is another question mark. I guess maybe she's going to get some sort of ingredients for her medicine from the animals themselves, but it was kind of an odd little statement. But yeah, they kind of wrap up the episode by getting into Mao Mao once again having one of the geek out moments that we absolutely love. It's been a while since we had an absolute Mao Mao geek out moment, but yeah, she sees a bunch of herbs, goes crazy, and then gets this one area where there's a small little hill. And Kusuriya, one of the court ladies, show up and bops her on the head and says, don't go any further than this. I'm assuming that has something to do with this particular mound. Like, is this a special place that has something special about it? Does she not want her to see something that she could see in that location? Technically, Mao Mao does hear the dongs and, brings up the fact that the military something. So my assumption it might have something to do with going too far east. Like Goshen was talking about previously. Goshen said don't go too far east. That's where the military is, which I assume they don't go over there because that's where the military is. You'll distract them. You're not supposed to be in that area or what? Or it could possibly be a thing of Jinshi doesn't want Mao Mao to be anywhere near the military for whatever reason. I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing that Goshon pointed out, don't go near the military. Then here, maybe implying the idea that that's that eastern side. Or again, it could be something to do with that particular mount. And then yes, wrapping up the episode with somebody handing somebody a pipe, which I'm assuming is going to be something important in the next episode. We'll see. I did get a kick out of the fact that when she was going to leave, she had all this stuff that the girls like piled on her, and she wanted to bring her modem pistol because she still wants to do her medicine stuff. And her father points out the obvious thing that everybody's kind of thinking, yeah, you can't really bring those with you because they're going to think that you're making poisons. That was kind of the same thing that I was thinking of previously with the idea of Mama working as an apothecary there, because yes, other than her being there specifically as a doctor, they don't want somebody there, mixing ingredients because they're going to think that you're plotting something. Or even if you do go in there with the mindset you're going to be able to do that, there's still this aspect that they would want to keep an eye on you. A doctor's office within this area would probably be very heavily managed in what you have there and whatnot. But yes, he makes a good point in the idea that, yes, maybe eventually when you gain their trust and you work hard enough, maybe eventually they will let you bring certain things in there and then you could do your medicine stuff again. But yeah, other than that, new OP and ED. The OP looked absolutely beautiful. Definitely going for a different style this time. Still had her in her beautiful outfit that they had in the first OP, but I really do like that kind of panning perspective shots with the steals. It's something I've always kind of enjoyed in a lot of stuff, but yeah, it was very beautiful OP. The ED was okay. I do have to say it's kind of interesting in the ED. There was a lot of credits to a lot of studios, like Cloverworks, Ufotable. So I'm not sure what their actual involvement in. I might actually have to look into it later on. I heard some people mention that factor before the episode came out. Kind of curious just how much involvement all these studios have, or if it's just them, maybe they're just doing some... It seemed like it was listing a lot of names, so maybe it's just different people from different studios did certain projects for the episode itself, but it was kind of interesting thing to see that not just so many studios, but a lot of very well-known studios are sort of getting involved with this project, or it might just be just strictly for the OPED. I didn't look into it enough. But yeah, other than that, just a lot of shots of this particular person taking note of what Jinshi's doing. Even the whole thing with the courtesan being brought in by Jinshi, he was intrigued by it. Specifically mentions that house. So I'm wondering if he knows about that particular house and possibly somebody that was there, which maybe implies that he knows something about Mamao, or at least her father. And again, it's kind of showing up at the very end, watching Mamao as she's down there in that little area with the mound. Slight spoilers, yes, technically I did see the preview for the next episode, and I'm really looking forward to her being able to still interact with the other individuals, like Gyokyo, but I'm curious how that kind of dynamic works. Maybe it's the fact that she's working there, she's able to travel into the rear palace freely. She said that she has freedom, so I'm hoping that she'll be able to travel in there, or it's just Jinshi setting her up with stuff. But we'll see. Again, that's my thoughts on the Apothecary Diaries, episode 13. Looking forward to the next episode. Again, this episode seemed like a lot of kind of rehashing and getting us kind of set into the new location and what possible doors that might open. Again, I was hoping that it's kind of nice that this new position that she's in, she has a little more freedom, but that also kind of implies that she's going to be involved with more things that Jinshi wants her to be involved with. It kind of makes you wonder why he would bring her in as a court lady and trying to get her some sort of job, unless that is to be a court lady for him specifically, not for a different office. I mean, Goshon was saying that as soon as you become a court lady, you're going to work out here, but I would think that would probably have things to do with going back and forth between Jinshi and these other houses. Because again, my assumption is that he wants Mao at his side because, one, he likes her, but two, that she is a very intelligent and very critical asset to solving all these mysteries. But anyways, yes, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, I'll be doing first impressions of all the shows of the season that's coming up winter. But additionally, if you enjoy this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody does. Take care.